Hi, this is Debra R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you so that you can clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes, so that you can pay the right vendor. And this week's Vendor Master File tip of the week is vendor banking validations. And there are two reasons why you want to validate your vendor banking. The first one is because you want the payment to be successful. So in the case of the ABA routing number, you want to validate that to make sure that it is valid, because sometimes banks do merge, get acquired, and the vendors do not always know this. So you want to make sure you validate that those are valid routing numbers before you enter them in your vendor master file. You also want to check at the same time whether or not that routing number is good for wires or ACHs or both, because some banks have different routing numbers for wires versus their ACHs. Now, for international banking, to make sure the payments are successful, you want to make sure that you validate the SWIFT code and the BIC code, or in case of those countries where an IBAN is required, you want to make sure that the IBAN format is correct. Now, the second reason you want to validate your vendor's banking is because you want to make sure that your vendor owns that bank account, that is your valid vendor's bank account and not a fraudster. And so there quite a few different resources that are available for that. Some of you may have in your accounting system a pre-note process. Just be aware that not all pre-notes, not all banks with that process will return the bank account owner's name, and you want to always again make sure that bank account owner's name matches your vendor's legal name, and not all banks with the pre-notes will bring that information back. There are also services out there that will validate the bank account owner name matches the vendor legal name, and will give you certain codes once that comparison or that lookup is done. And if you want more information on both of those, I will put a link to a blog post where I review both free and paid resources to validate your vendor's banking. Thank you, and come back next week for another Vendor Master File tip of the week.